You are listening to Be Brilliant in Your Business, the podcast that helps creative business owners take charge of your time and energy so you can run your business confidently without burning out. I'm your host, Lindsay Brownson, and I'm here to deliver a creative cocktail of pep talks and practical tools to help you clear your head, take action, and enjoy the process of running your business. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to welcome new listeners. I'm so glad you're here, and I look forward to being part of your brilliant business. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, and even better, head to BeBrilliantListener.com to grab your new listener goodie bag. Are you ready? Let's go. Hey Mavericks, welcome to the show. Today, in case you didn't notice from the title, today is a milestone episode. This is our 100th episode, which is kind of a big deal in the podcasting world. Your first 100 episodes are like, it takes a while to hit your stride. How about that? Let's say that. And I actually started this podcast in December of 2018. So that was a minute ago. And because of a few different format changes, we used to do seasonal shows, and then we did weekly, and now we're bi-weekly. It's taken a little bit longer to hit this number. Nonetheless, 100 episodes is something I'm really proud of, and I'm very happy to be here today. So today's episode is going to be a very uplifting one because I thought it would be fun to go back through our first 100 episodes and pull out some clips of powerful moments and insights and just lots of good things that you will either enjoy rehearing, or if you're hearing it for the first time, it'll just be a little boost to your day. This was really fun for me to actually go back and hear earlier episodes, and even just things that, that I've said or that guests have said that I kind of forgot about. So this was a great exercise, not unlike the evaluations that I have been talking about a lot on the show lately, just reviewing your old work and seeing what you learned from it. So this was really fun. I'm very excited to jump in and share with you some of the best of the Be Brilliant in Your Business podcast, episodes 1 to 100. We have kind of adopted this idea about positive thinking as the golden rule of success. And the more positive you think, the more good things will happen. And then you can live happily ever after just as long as you're a positive, optimistic person. But positive thinking is not inherently useful. It's important to know that thoughts create your feelings. So every thought that you have generates a vibration in your body, and that vibration is the predominant driving force of the actions that you take. So the reason that positive thinking is assumed to be good is because positive thoughts will generate positive feelings, and we like to feel good. It's kind of our thing. But here's the catch. Feeling good isn't always the best thing for us, especially as business owners, especially when what we're trying to do is grow. Growing requires us to be uncomfortable. And often what happens is that people really try to resist their discomfort and their negative feelings and try to override it with positive thinking or with fluffy thoughts, which are positive thoughts that sound really lovely, but don't actually help us to create the things we want in our business. I want to encourage you, instead of labeling your own thoughts as positive or negative, really start considering them simply as useful or not useful to you right now. Because it's a lot more powerful to be aligned than it is to be positive.
I was working in a design firm, and I asked another more senior designer for a recommendation for a tradesperson. And the designer pointed to her Rolodex. This is going way back, if that didn't just date me. And she said, "You have to earn that. I've been in this industry for, XYZ number of years. I'm not just going to give you my contractor's name. You have to struggle and, have the wins and the losses and find your own Rolodex of wonderful references to use. And we were in the same design firm, not even competing design firms.
Right.
I was godsmacked. I could not believe that a coworker of mine was so out for herself and not out to help another person who was young in the industry. It was just an absolute shock to me. And it was also like a point where I decided that there would never, ever, ever be a day, no matter how many years I was in this industry or whatever I ended up, wherever level I ended up at, I was never, ever going to say, you have to go through the struggle that I went through. I'm not going to help you. That I was always going to give a hand up, encourage, share, be really, really an open book when it comes to, if I've learned it, I'll share it. I want to help the rest. What I found is the more that I share, it is amazing to hear someone implement what you've told them and have their business grow or thrive and improve. I think the core of it is that I believe in abundance. And I get asked all the time, why do you spend so much time helping your competitors run a better business? And I smile at whoever it is asking me that. And I say it's because I do not believe that by helping my competitors, there's nothing in me that believes that I will have less. I believe that our entire industry will be more efficient, more effective, running better businesses, being paid better, thus being able to do better with more resources. And I believe that the entire industry, let alone entrepreneurship, let alone women business owners, will be more respected as we collaborate and share. The entire industry and or whatever raises up. It doesn't take anything away from me.
So this morning I was sitting outside and I was watching my neighbor play in the yard with his baby. He was tossing him up in the air and just laughing so much as he watched the baby laugh. He was having so much fun experiencing his baby having fun. And I was having so much fun watching all of this. And it got me thinking, this really is the best that life will ever be. This moment, this feeling of joy and completeness, this is it. And I think that sometimes we hear that this moment is all there is, and that our purpose in life is simply to live it and to love it. And while we understand this conceptually and we've experienced moments like this, it really trips us up because we think, well, then what's the point of wanting more? What is the point of wanting more, of having ambition, of building businesses that make a lot of money, or of writing a bestseller, or getting yourself featured in Forbes, or of buying a beautiful house on the lake? Why go through all of that effort, all of the struggle and the disappointment? And why wait when you can feel all of these things right now, today, with the simplest things in life? It's a challenging question for most of us because we are afraid that if we really allowed ourselves to love our life exactly as it is, we would stop trying. We would become complacent and we'd live a smaller life than what we're really capable of. I see this fear a lot with my clients who, like me, are highly ambitious and very future focused. We, and I'll use the collective we here, we get kind of attached to the struggle. We do a lot of talking about how we'd like to not work so hard and how we'd like things to be easier, how we'd like to be more present in our lives. But deep down, a lot of us really believe that we need our insatiable critic to motivate us. Being satisfied and not needing more in your life is only going to create more abundance in your life. And instead of telling you why that's true, I'm going to just ask you to think about this for yourself. How is it true? If you have enough time, then how do you treat your time? What do you create with the time that you have? If you have enough money, how do you treat your money? And how do you create more of it? The same goes for joy and love and satisfaction and pride. Having sufficiency in all of these areas will only increase your capacity to have and to create more of it.
I remember looking around that room and being like, this is totally possible. Like I can do this. I can be there and right alongside all of these other amazing female business owners that are doing their thing and fully embracing themselves as a CEO. And I think that that was the first moment that I really looked at myself as the CEO of my business and not just as, oh, I'm a virtual assistant, And because I think before that, I was still thinking and coming at my business from a point of I'm a virtual assistant and I have a couple team members instead of I'm the CEO of my business. I started being more reflective about, what am I best at and what are the things that I really can only do, and nobody else in my business can do. And I know that there are so many times in people's businesses that it's so hard to think about what other people can do, like what can be replicated, what you don't have to do. But it's so important because if you don't have that, there's no way for you to scale or grow.
Yeah, so I was last night, I was looking at pictures of stuff that I did about a year before we moved here, so 4 years ago, and I was impressed by what I had done. But at that time, I was kind of punching above my weight, meaning that I never would say no, ever. People would ask me, can you do this? They show me a picture or a drawing. Yeah, no problem. And then I would go home and cry about it and freak out. Like, how am I going to do this? But I did those jobs, and then we moved here, and I still didn't have whatever it was that was going to propel me to go out and meet these people and say, I can do this job. I can make this. I can do this. And for some reason, I still had this fear or this thought that I wasn't worth it. And I don't know. There was just some blockage in me that wouldn't let me love myself enough to say, you can do this. You can be the one selling it and designing it and in charge of it. So what would happen is with installing, I go in and I give it 100%, and by 3 or 4 o'clock towards the end of the day, I'm just wiped. I'm totally wiped out. They're always challenging. And as we've gotten to be better at installing, we've gotten invited to better houses, and we're in multi-million-dollar houses all the time now. And so I just had no space to be creative and to just let my mind wander. I love daydreaming. I really love daydreaming. And I daydream about cabinets. That's what I think also is part of the pivotal moment. It's this is my thing, this is my jam. And I need to not be just the one on the ground crawling around on my knees, screwing cabinets to the wall,
That's not the highest and best use of your skills.
Absolutely.
And so it was really when you shifted into that mindset of saying well, I'm not willing to keep living this way. I'm not willing to keep doing business the way I've been doing it, because that just makes me exhausted all the time.
And summer's coming.
And summer's coming. You had to actually fully make a mindset shift into a place where you're really now focused on the possibility of what this business could be, and then stepping into that role and saying, okay, what are the things that need to happen in order for me to make that work? You are stepping into really being the owner of a business versus the tradesman, the guy who has the team that you go and do the things. Right. You're really starting to embody a completely different way. She would say to me a couple years ago, your business, and I'm it's not a business. I'm just a guy that installs shit that has a couple guys to help him out. So when you think there just isn't enough time, how do you feel?
Exhausted.
And describe exhausted for me a little bit. How does that feel to you in your body? Can you feel any specific sensations, any location?
Yeah, it feels really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Like my body feels hard to move. Hard to move because there just isn't enough energy to move it. Where in my body? I would say all over, really. Just my body as a whole is just heavy, and there's a slowness to it. Almost like if I were trying to walk through mud that's waist high.
Mm.
So I'm just fighting against this pressure that forces me to it's really trudging through this mud.
What are you doing or not doing with the time that you do have when there isn't enough of it?
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I haven't really thought this through. I wake up, I look at my calendar. What do I have to do today? Oh, I have these, 10 tasks or whatever that I would like to devote more time to doing the tasks, right? And not just like, oh, this thing, do this thing now. Oh, the next thing, do the next thing now, right? There's no thought. I'm not intentional about the action I'm taking. I'm just sort of putting stuff together and throwing it out into the world. Yeah. Like I'm not showing up for my clients. I'm not showing up for my business. I'm not showing up for myself.
You're giving yourself this busy work to do. You're giving yourself these little tasks to do and keeping busy without really thinking about maybe the end result of what they're creating, if that's the best use of your time.
Yeah.
Does that sound accurate?
That sounds like, ooh, haven't seen that one before, but yeah, that's 100% right.
So exhaustion doesn't come from the amount of time that you have in a day or the amount of time that you spend, but really and truly what you're doing to yourself right now is exhausting yourself by thinking that there isn't enough time and then trying to work harder to create more stuff to not feel exhausted. Do you see how that kind of like creates this hamster wheel effect? Because you think that it's true that there isn't enough time. And as long as you continue to believe that that is true, there's no amount of time that you could have that would make that urge go away.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if that thought had never entered your mind, that there isn't enough time? Like, who would you be then if it had never even occurred to you that maybe there isn't enough time?
I got this feeling of like space, of like it feels like the space around me just got a lot bigger. And I no longer have that feeling of heaviness. I no longer have that feeling of urgency. Yeah. I kind of think I forgot what you asked because I'm just like sitting here experiencing this very different thing. Oh, that's mind blowing. That's awesome.
I just want to do a quick check-in because I want to make sure that the way that we are talking about solving for exhaustion and busyness in your business is not by changing the hours that you're working.
Yeah.
But how do you see yourself actually solving it? Like, give me sort of this picture with a new frame of reference.
I can already tell that I am looking forward to my time tonight, that I am going to sit down and do what I had planned for myself. Yeah. Like I haven't given one thought to, I'm going to change the hours that I'm working. I just know that I am going to be showing up differently. And like, I actually feel really inspired, and I haven't felt inspired to sit down and do this in a long time.
Sometimes we just strip away some of those layers around the busyness, or to use your metaphor, because I like it, we're like pulling you out of the mud.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm showering off and
yeah, so you can see what's underneath all of it. If it's important, give it a year. When I decided to do the podcast, when I knew that I was for sure committed to doing it, I decided to give it a year. And the reason for that was I have had a lot of experience. I do a lot of business planning with business owners, and we do it quarter by quarter. So essentially 3 months at a time. And if you're going from never making commitments to making commitments, maybe making a 3-month or a quarterly commitment is a good idea. But if it's something that's meaningful to you, I want you to give it a year. And the truth of the matter is that if you, like at any given time throughout the course of a year, it's going to be 50-50 whether or not you feel like this is a good idea or a terrible idea. And if you allow yourself, like this is planning for your success ahead of time. I knew that in December when I launched the podcast, if I had told myself I could quit in March, there's a 50-50 chance I would have quit in March. Now, truthfully, in March, I was still like, this is the most fun I've ever had in my life. I totally want to do it. But in July, I didn't feel that way. In July, I felt like this is a lot of work. It's expensive. Like, it's not directly like getting me the return on investment, if that's how I'm choosing to look at it. Like, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of mind drama that comes up with stuff like this. And so I just knew that I couldn't allow my emotions in the moment to let me decide whether or not my commitment was worthy. We never do any bad behavior more than once, at least not from a neuroscience perspective. So there is always a reward that reinforces that behavior. So often we think about our, quote, bad habits, and we think, I don't know why I do that, or I don't know why I did that, because in your logical, conscious mind, you're focused on the consequences of the, quote, bad behavior. But in your nervous system, it's like, oh, that was great behavior. We should totally do that again. Because it's all about getting that rush of dopamine in your system. That is why you repeat behaviors that you are not a fan of. It's not because you're a masochist. It's because you're getting a reward that your body has deemed more important than whatever the consequence is. And usually that happens simply because you're not aware of it and you haven't yet presented your brain and your body with an alternative option.
So my motto is, I call them the mom cracks of time, which is 30 minutes or less, because really it's with anyone that's a mom, you know that even if you get 30 minutes, that's a good day. And that resonates with everyone because, as you mentioned, it's a slither of time. And most of the people in my audience work during the day, another job, and then they're building their business on the side. So they really do not have, huge chunks of time. But you can make a lot of progress if you're just working on things in 15 to 30 minute increments.
Your feelings create your future. So if an emotion is just a vibration in your body, think about this like ringing a gong. So the loudest, most intense part of ringing a gong is immediate. When you hit it, it makes a very loud sound, and then it sort of reverberates and kind of fills the room. In a few moments, then it starts to dissipate. Now, if you keep hitting that gong with the same thought over and over, the same mallet over and over again, you'll keep feeling intensity and then reverberation and then dissipation, right? So you can just keep doing that over and over, which is what happens when you jump into action because you keep having those same perpetual thoughts over and over and over again. Or you can catch yourself and notice that thought, notice that you're hitting that gong, and then just don't hit it again. Just allow it to shake itself out. And then you become free to move on to something more intentional. All right. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed taking this trip back in time with me. And whether you are a new listener or if you have been with us since the very first episodes, I want to thank you so much for being here, for being part of this show. You listening, you are who I make this for. So it means the absolute world to me to have you here and tuning in every couple of weeks. If you love the show, if you have feedback, I definitely want to hear it. I plan to have at least 100 more episodes, so I would love to stay in touch with you, and it always means so much to hear from listeners like you. So please reach out. You can find me on Instagram at Lindsay Brownson or at Be Brilliant Podcast, and you can take a screenshot of the show and tag me. You can also DM me. Anything you want to do, let's get and stay in touch. I definitely want to hear from you. So thank you again for being here. Have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon.